that. Streaming
live.
What's up, tubers? Let's point this down just a hair.
Yep,
right there.
I usually do that.
Perfect. I'm going to tweet this out. Twitter. There it comes. Keep the PTM posse entertained for a moment for us.
All right, y'all. We're going to fire up again here. May diddle around a little bit on the old
Diddle.
YouTube a little bit to give our guest an opportunity to start his segment a little closer to the beginning of the audio function of this particular show.
Yeah, so we're going to fart around for a little bit, have some fun, maybe make a drink.
Not a bad idea. I'll go ahead and get on there and see who's
again
popping
for the
up.
Weather. Anytime, Roger, anytime. You know, it's supposed to be 77 here in Atlanta on Thursday.
Yep.
77. That's ridiculous. And here's the thing. We know it's going to snow between now and, say, March 15th in Atlanta. It always does. So we're going to be 77 tomorrow, or 2 days from now. Is this what day is this? And then,
Is this a...
and then it's going to snow. Insane.
Yeah, more than likely. I mean, that seems to be the pattern. Someone's in Jersey said it was 80.
Oh
yeah,
my
it was
gosh.
75 today in Charlotte.
That's nuts. Like, we had a cold spell compared to everybody else, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon was telling me they went from minus 30 to 50 degrees. So they had a little bit
80 degrees
80 degrees swing over the course of a week.
27 on Saturday. No, thank you. Oof. I don't think we're having that kind of swing. Atlanta weather. We are having Saturday 53, low of 36 overnight sort of deal, so we'll see.
53 ain't bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Oof.
Minus 15 to 55. A 70-degree swing. Whew. That is a big, big swing. That's a lot like what Denver does sometimes, where they have like 75 degrees and then get 18 inches of snow the next day.
Yeah.
And have like mass flooding when it melts and crazy whatnot. I'm sure you remember seeing those pictures from Clan, or maybe you didn't, that he put on Facebook where like he was like in shorts and then everything was under snow, and then like 2 days later like everything was underwater. It's like, what?
What is going on?
It's not weather, that's malaria.
Yeah. I always thought it'd be a funny comedian joke to walk into, like, as your first thing, like, oh, hey, I'm here in Atlanta. Boy, the weather here is crazy, isn't it? It can just be 20 one day and 70 the next day, right? And everybody screams, everybody claps, and then he goes, yeah, go to hell. I tell that joke in every city. You're not special.
Yeah, right? Oh, you can totally do that.
Hey, that's what everyone says about their city.
Oh, B. Wayne, what's up, Brett?
It's just more like, you know what? Weather is weird. Deal with it.
Weather's weird, especially down here in the subtropical. I think the folks up north are a little bit more used to that.
Like, it wouldn't work in San Diego. It wouldn't work in Hawaii. Alaska's just cold. So there's a few places that wouldn't work. But I'm pretty sure every other place in the
Right.
U.S. that's going to be, maybe not Miami.
Oh, yeah, good call, Sarah. Brandon's already posted his episode for today, and Aaron Studwell is a big part of the stuff he does, and he always gives a good weather update for what the upcoming races and week are, which is cool.
So, Roger, no joke, I've heard that joke independently told by different people in Atlanta, Georgia, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Where else? I've heard it in New York. that was the whole point of the silliness of the joke. Yeah, y'all go to hell. Or not even go to hell. Just say, yeah, F you. I tell that joke in every set. That'd be a good Bill Burr. Not that I should be, telling him what a good joke is.
Right.
That would be more like up his alley kind of make fun of the audience.
Oh, that's definitely a Bill kind of joke.
Right. So, hey, what are y'all drinking on tonight? Y'all tell us. We're going to fart around for a little bit while we're waiting on our guests to be ready. They'll be ready around 9:30. Freddie Kraft coming on for the second time. Spotter for Bubba Wallace. but he's not coming on until 9:30. We're going to kick it off before then. Now, Roger, that is a new one to me. 6 seasons: winter, spring, summer, fall, Saratoga, and black flies. I do not know that one.
So black flies was definitely a season that Michigan had, and that was something that was strange to me, because we don't have flies down here that way, and I don't know if it's because we have bats or other predators that eat them.
We do have bats and frogs.
But when I tell you, if you've ever seen a cattle barn fly strip, you don't want to see that thing. And you hang it up in the barn, and
turns it black.
You know those little fly strips you buy out of like the little tube?
Yeah, yeah.
And it hangs out the ceiling about 2 feet.
Yeah.
Well, we had them in our barns up there, and they were this long, and they were 6 inches wide, and they were covered with flies. And that's a thing I'm just not. And the deer flies, man, those things bite.
Yeah.
And they hurt.
Yeah,
and they make you bleed.
They make you bleed.
Right? So they don't. So, like, you know how mosquito is, they've got basically like a syringe they poke you with?
These things have freaking mouths, right?
They have something that cuts you like a razor, so it cuts you like 2 millimeters, and you just bleed from it. And then you get the same kind of itchy thing you get from a mosquito.
Oh, bummer. I thought I knew mosquitoes because down here in the South, we get our fair share, especially with all the creeks and the warm weather and all that. We went out to Wyoming, and me and Serena were camping, and it was right at dusk. Like they weren't there in the morning or mid-afternoon or late night, but right at dusk. Holy crap! You couldn't see your hand in front of your face just about.
So Sarah just said she's got a watered-down Ivanovich mango vodka, and I feel uneasy admitting that. Is that chick hooch?
I mean,
I mean, if you have to ask if it's chick hooch, it's probably chick hooch.
Ivanovich?
I don't even know what that is.
Ivanovich vodka. I mean, it's vodka.
It's a real thing.
Apparently, Ivanovich.
Texas weather is like salsa. Mild, medium.
I like that.
Where's the hot as chili pepper?
Mary Patchy. Yeah, and Stacy said, what was she drinking? She was drinking Wild Turkey Honey Sting. My lady.
Good stuff. Yummy,
awesome.
Yummy.
Hey, how's the old man doing, Stacy?
Yeah, so we're just talking to people in the thread now. Of course, we're going to be about a 5 or 6 second delay from when y'all's comments come in to when we actually see them. So we'll, obviously try to keep that as live as possible. You know that. That's the reason why y'all are here, because we're paying attention.
Y'all been around
to the live feed there.
Harold's good.
Harold's good. Excellent. Awesome.
Excellent.
How about Talladega?
Tell him we said hey. Yeah.
How close are we to that?
No
Closer
kidding.
than you think.
No kidding. Best weather, as we're speaking of the weather, best weather of the track that I can remember. Best.
Oh, that weekend last year was amazing.
I tell everybody, dude, there's probably people tired of hearing the story because I probably told it to them 3 or 4 times. I'm just saying how awesome it was to sit there on your own lawn chair and feet propped up on your own cooler watching a race.
Well, and
you don't get that nowhere else.
Yeah, the ability to take it in a very different fashion than you and I traditionally take in races. Like, we weren't worried that we couldn't see the start finish because the whole event was so much fun. It was like, no, we're just going to experience this the way our new friends experience it.
Yeah.
And I got no qualms with that.
Yeah.
I can't wait to do it again.
Stacy, y'all going to do that crawfish boil again?
You know what I was going to suggest to you is that maybe we make a tiny little investment in a newer one of those little Texas Tower smokers.
Oh, yeah.
Let's contribute some pork to the event.
That's not a bad idea. That's something we know what to do.
Since we know how to do it.
I don't have a clue what I'm doing with mud bugs.
No. No, I don't even remember that guy's name, but he was awesome.
That dude was – I still got his picture. So, I have limited space on this phone, but I have his picture on here because I thought that was so cool. Let me see. I'm gonna.
Well, that whole trash can thing. So if y'all aren't familiar with like really getting down on a crawfish boil, they've got this station.
Darren,
damn
sure.
They've got this device that's like a table. You sit on a 55-gallon drum. That's the trash can, and it's right in the middle. And then everybody has like a station where you can put your corn and your mud bugs, or you can mix it all together, or whatever you do. And then whenever you're done with your trash, you just throw it right in the middle of the table, and it's in the trash. It's pretty awesome.
It's the way you're supposed to eat them.
Oh, it's the year of the pig. I guess from Chinese New Year perspective, maybe.
Nice.
Yeah, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna pick up one of those little portable smokers that's a little easier to deal with, and we're gonna cook the hell out of a bone-in shoulder. I guarantee you.
I had, or I think my sign is dog. What's yours, Sherwin?
Oh,
remember?
Is it based on your birthday?
Yeah, year.
Oh, it's year.
Yeah. Which
year?
Hell,
I don't know.
You were the year before me, or 2 years before. Here's that picture.
Animal of 1981.
There you go, Stacy. That's the picture right
Rooster!
there.
We might have to do chicken one day.
Nice.
Or a beer butt or something. A beer butt chicken.
Oh, and here's us watching the race. I love this. I mean, this is so low tech me doing this, but there we are in the lawn chairs. All that.
That was a lot of fun.
Golly, can't wait. Karaoke is on too. Well, I think I need to rest my voice from last time until the race starts.
Well, with your permission, Stacy, we'll certainly invite CJ Wolliver down to participate.
Yeah. One of the best Hall & Oates that I've ever heard.
Yeah, I know he loves to do it. Now, he's already mentioned it to me.
Awesome. And Brett's going to have a brand new golf cart at Bristol. That's going to be hilarious. Sherwin, I've got plenty to talk about before 9:30. So
want to go ahead and
fire
up the audio?
Let's go ahead and start firing it up. This
might be a little bit longer show for you YouTubers today. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. So we'll. I'm just making sure everything's hooked up, ready to roll. Make sure I've got. I was about to say Darren. Make sure I've got Freddie's phone number in there, so that Sherwin doesn't have to tell me that live on YouTube. I'm sure he would appreciate us not doing that, but I've got it good to go. And Sherwin, you're monitoring the texts?
Yeah, well, thankfully I got the little vibrating wrist thing in case I missed the actual thing. But yeah, that's the plan.
Perfect. Man, it's so awesome to talk to everybody, actually. We should do that a little more often sometimes.
It's kind of BS on the front end.
Well, it's all of our, a lot of our friends here who haven't met each other, and we've met each of them too,
Right.
Like Stacy and Brett haven't met, for example.
Correct.
Maybe they have. I don't know. But
well, Stacy,
two people that we've had a
retired
boatload of fun.
Now. Yeah. No, we had I don't know, at some point to a recap or something, but last year was so much fun. We had so many cool experiences, and there's probably a lot of people that, maybe they're new enough that they didn't hear us talk about any of them.
Yeah.
So we can.
You know what?
We'll do that when Cup has an off season or something.
Keep them entertained for one more minute, and I'm going to go take a you-know-what break.
Yep, I got you.
Number one.
Yeah. Yeah, it shouldn't take too long, right? So we still haven't settled on what our early spring race is going to be yet. Bristol is like texting me and calling me on the regular trying to get me to renew, but we were potentially considering other options. All right, hold on just a second. I just got a text from Freddie Kraft. Some of you may know him as our guest tonight. Maybe a couple minutes late, but won't be too long. Cool. I'm going to respond to him real quick. Sorry, this is probably boring chatter, but I need to go ahead and get it done so he's aware that I saw his text. All right, no problem. Cool. All right. Well, it's going to be a fun show today. We had some interesting news. Obviously, you guys know what that is. And we got a hell of an awesome guest leading into the kickoff of the NASCAR season.
So I have to replace this chair. One of the wheels fell off.
It keeps falling off on you.
So you have to kind of like shove it back up in there, but it just takes probably 10 minutes worth of moving around. And this left side arm rest is
gone
busted.
to kaput.
so earlier today, or I think it was yesterday, I'm sitting in the chair. I move backwards. The wheel comes off, which means I have to rebalance myself this way, which means I put my arm on this thing that's already busted too, and it gives way. I'm sprawled out on the floor somewhere. Just complete yard sale.
All right,
laughing my butt off.
We're going to do our normal stuff, and then as soon as we start doing our As soon as we
That's
start
awesome.
doing our What You Drinking, you guys go ahead and refire up what you're drinking just so it's fresh in the feed.
Yeah.
In case anybody new shows up and wants to play the game.
Yeah. Let's do this. Sherwin, you ready?
Absolutely.
All right. And Rusty is ready. We are recording now. Welcome, y'all! That's right. This is the Pregame Engineer Tailgate Mirror Racing Podcast, episode number 181. Today's Tuesday, February 5th, 2019. I'm Tailgate Mirror Rusty Wallace. I'm in the PTM Podcast studio with Pregame Engineer Andrew Sherwin. What's up, dude?
Hey, man. I see Brett's doing some fireball. That's good. That's fun times. We've got a pretty good show for y'all today. Really excited about the guest. Probably going to call in around 9:35, or we're going to call him, I suppose.
Something like that.
And then we're just going to talk a lot of NASCAR today, y'all. We're coming off the soccer episode, which was fun. I can't wait to tell you at the end of the show what's coming up for next week.
Absolutely. Before we do any of that, y'all know what the deal is. This podcast is sponsored by you. That's right. You go to patreon.com/PTM. Join the What You Drink Club for as little as $1 a month. Get that free koozie and some stickers. Best part is, every cent in 2019, we're donating to sponsoring drivers. So join the PTM Posse today. Be a part of the sport you love. We still have our announcements coming soon. We just got to get all our ducks in a row, but things are moving, y'all. This week's show is brought to you by our official sponsors at the $5 and up per month level. Those are Roy Henshaw, Aaron Bearden, Robert Keplinger, Coleman Clam, Eric Kepner, Ryan Keeper, Perry, Patrick Cleary, Jeff Brown, Brennan Crowd, Kathleen McDonald, Stacey Wright, Brandon Carl, Billy Workman, Rika Porter, Jump Bob, Les Miller, Tommy Witt, Julie Bosley, John Pearson, Eddie Greer III, Yunker Motorsports, Jason Rudd, David Mullins, Patrick Johnson, Brett Morris, and Gail Delaney. Thank you, PTM Posse. I did have to take a breath this week.
Thanks, Posse!
You know what? I was like, I'm doing good. And I look, and I've got 3 lines worth of names left to read, and I'm going, oh, nope, not doing good. We're just going to have to pause there at some moment.
I didn't even try to micro machine man that thing when it was my turn to do it.
I think the amount of practice that I've had on it, that lends a lot toward
and
the
most
fact that
of
you can
the
do it
order is, the order stays the same, and you just kind of add the new ones at the end, which we thank. I can't even thank you enough, all the new people that have jumped on board and the people that have stayed on board.
Well, listen to this. You remember at the end I would just go, Julie Bosley, right? Well, I get to Julie Bosley. I've got John Pearson, Eddie Greer III, Yunker Motorsports, Jason Rudd, David Mullins, Patrick Johnson, Brett Morris, and Gail Delaney.
Right, like a whole nother
crap.
line of awesome people.
Oh, thank y'all so much.
And in case y'all didn't hear, real quick, we're going to do a whole episode with them once we have all the stuff in place. But your PETM Posse driver has already collected a win in the 2019 season. So how about that?
Holy cow. That's super cool. Yeah, I'm really excited about what's coming in 2019 with our deal. Our guest is coming shortly. We'll introduce him when he comes on. Hint, it's Bubba Wallace's spotter, Freddie Kraft, for his second time on the PTM podcast, so which means we did not offend him enough to not come back. We'll talk about
Always
that in
a
a
positive.
bit. Sure, and you know how we start this thing off, though. What are we drinking tonight?
Okay, well, kind of just falling in order with what's fairly standard for me is Jim Beam White Label and a Barrett's Diet Ginger Beer Mixer, along with
I like this.
a fun little beer from Catawba, North Carolina, the Hopness Monster India Pale Ale.
Yeah, India Pale what?
India Pale Ale. That kind of trailed off a little bit, didn't it?
Kind of sound like Catalba.
Yeah, I was thinking in my head about how many times I've crossed the Catawba River when I have to go to North Carolina.
Yeah. And I was sitting here. I told you in the pre-show, I was like, I didn't know Catawba even had a brewing company called Catawba Brewing Company. That's super cool. And so you bought this in Atlanta?
Yes.
Okay.
I bought this in a Kroger.
No kidding.
Yep.
Well, K-Rogers
tremendous distribution. I'm assuming they either have help from Miller Coors or help from AB InBev. Either one's fine by me.
Yeah.
Whatever helps us get cool beers from other places, that works.
Well, like we said, our guest is coming shortly, but until then, we just kind of have to stall for a little bit, but hopefully y'all enjoy it. I'm going to start here, Sherwin. Happy belated birthday to Mr. Sherwin right here, I believe 3 days ago, and we're going to be celebrating in like 4 days from now.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yep, had a pretty calm weekend down at Mom and Dad's. Had a dinner requested. My mom's a great cook. We had a good time.
Well, your mom's Southern, of course she is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what'd you eat?
We had chicken stroganoff. Her little wrinkle. It's pretty good.
Sounds good. And then this weekend, I mean, we're going to tie one on. Shirts are coming off.
Yeah, it could get interesting. We're already making plans to start at a bar at somewhere around 2 p.m. for an 8 p.m. show.
For an 8 p.m. show.
We're going to go see Bert Kreischer. I don't know if you guys are stand-up comedy fans, but he's one of my favorite podcasts to listen to, and he's got a hilarious stand-up special that came out on Netflix right after Thanksgiving, I want to say, maybe early December. So y'all go check that out. He's awesome. Notorious for taking his shirt off to start his show.
And he's not like he's not a Adam Levine.
Right? And I've seen a ton of, funny you mentioned that, I've seen a ton of memes of him. Like, he's posted a bunch on his Twitter and his Instagram, memes of like him in various sundry forms of Adam Levine's tattoos on his body, and like cut his head off and put it on Adam Levine's body, like that whole who wore it better thing.
Yeah. Did you see this? I laughed my butt off when I saw this one on Twitter, I believe is where it was. Some fat dude took a picture of himself with his shirt off. You know how Adam Levine has that one tattoo across the middle just says California, right? Yeah. I didn't know that he had it until 2 nights ago or whatever.
I don't know a whole lot about Adam Levine.
Yeah. So this dude took that picture on the left and then put his picture on the right. He has no tattoos. He just took a crayon and wrote Illinois across his belly.
Now that's funny.
Isn't that
funny? Oh, the internet.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can entertain quite well.
Now, if we're starting drinking at 2 p.m. for an 8 p.m. show.
Well, that's why we're going to start with beer.
We might, at the 8 p.m. show, all have our shirts off for the same.
You never know. It could come off as soon as he takes his off.
There's a lot of shirts coming off right here in the early portions of the PTM podcast, it seems. Sherwin's Super Bowl Sunday was 2 days ago. And, I mean, I don't have anything personally against the Patriots or Tom Brady necessarily, except, they've won a ton and you'd like to see something else. But you also just like to see a good game and funny commercials and a halftime show that's worth watching, and I'm not sure I got any of that.
I think we went 0 for 3 on that, yeah. In all honesty.
So,
even if I'm being just fair, I think we went 0 for 3 on that.
That's where I'm trying to be here. I'm just trying to be fair with the whole thing. I'm not trying to disparage anyone. It
was late in the second quarter when I tweeted out, have we seen a commercial worth a poop yet?
There was one that I laughed at, and I can't remember what it was, because I saw your tweet, and then I was like, oh, it was that commercial. I did like, the Bud Light ones. You know what?
I think a lot of people like the Game of Thrones Bud Lighty stuffy.
Yeah. Now, I'm not a fan of Bud Light, and I don't watch Game of Thrones, but I did enjoy those. They did a good job.
Thoroughly enjoyed Miller Coors roasting Budweiser Bud Light on Twitter.
Yeah, Sarge doesn't taste like piss or whatever. They didn't say that.
Well, they said, thanks for putting us in an ad. We haven't bought a Super Bowl ad in 20 years, so we appreciate that. Also, remember, we taste better and have less carbs.
Yeah.
It's like just a total shot over the bow.
I like it.
No offense to the Bud Light drinkers out there. It's okay. It's fine to have a little fun little war.
I was in college once, too.
Yes. Yeah. People get a little fired up about that. I said, I'd rather have a Natty Light than a Bud Light, just being perfectly honest. But we all have different flavor profiles.
Well, yeah. Natty Light tastes like nothing. Bud Light, I don't care for the taste.
Right. So. It just doesn't taste good to me at all.
Yeah. So, moving right along, Atlanta Motor Speedway got back in touch with us, Sherwin.
They absolutely did. We are very proud to announce that we will again be media members at Atlanta Motor Speedway's race in 3 weekends? Just a short time period from now. We'll know exactly what that entails when we show up at the trailer to pick up our credentials. But I know that I applied to everything, and they approved all 3 of us. So in case y'all didn't know, and we hadn't mentioned it too many times already, the lap traffic host, Brandon Crowd, is flying down to Atlanta to go with us to the race. and he will be joining us in the credential opportunity.
Yep. If you need me to yell anything at the Fox hosting team, and then we'll be uninvited from AMS for the rest of our lives, go ahead and tell me if it's funny enough for me to be ejected for life. I don't know. Maybe I'd yell it.
Yeah, it might go viral.
Yeah,
that'd probably be good for the podcast.
It would have to be pretty funny, though. It would have to be. Yeah, it would have to be big,
sort of over the top.
Yeah, something crazy. I don't even know.
Something Bill Burr-esque.
Well, you'd have to, I think, yell something at Jeff Gordon, but get his name wrong or something. You know,
like, hey, John Gordon.
Yeah, Jeff Goldblum sucks.
Something ridiculous like that.
I don't know. So, looking forward to that, though. That's going to be. It was such a different experience last year. I mean, Sherwin, every time we've gone to a race, we just show up with a massive amount of beer and sit in the stands and get drunk and sunburn and watch a race and have fun. This time, or this time last year was, I think, our first time going and we're wearing collared shirts and we're, trying to act normal, but also be ourselves too. And so it was a heck of an experience that, I was very glad that we got to do it and very glad that we didn't do it at some of the other events too. So
yeah, there's
really
a healthy
cool
mix when you're a fan. There's no, good call. When you're used to just being a fan and the race weekend is a party weekend, obviously we will never lament and we'll always applaud these opportunities that we get to be something like pseudo media. Obviously, we thank AMS for recognizing what we're helping them do in the process of doing this podcast, because we do, speak very highly of the event and want to drive people there if they're interested. And if our tiny little deal helps get one more person there, I think we've done our job in that respect. But at the same time, we do want to go to Talladega and raise almighty hell.
Right. I'm not sure I would accept credentials at Talladega right now.
Not now. Not till we've done it a few more times.
Yeah, exactly. How can you walk up and down Talladega Boulevard and not be drinking? I mean, now that said, we know media members who were there and drinking. We also know drivers who were there and drinking.
Well, so I think that's something I think was a miss for me, and it's my own fault. Is Friday night is when the Cup guys go out and really kind of give it a little bit of hell on Talladega Boulevard, but they start early because obviously they need to go to bed, get in their 12 hours of sobriety and all that stuff. So I think this year we'll head out there a little earlier.
Sounds good. I'm in. With that, let's talk about some stuff that happened this last week. Vegas test. That was interesting, Sherwin.
Did you watch any of it?
I didn't watch it, no. But I was reading results, and I was reading, Weaver's comments and stuff. And I mean, and I'll say this from my perspective as someone who didn't watch it and is reading all this stuff, it's still a head scratcher to me. Like, what in the hell actually happened out there in Vegas?
Well, so, and I start a lot of comments with well, so. But, so I did watch a little bit of it. I wasn't able to watch a whole lot of it. But what I did watch was, and I've said this ad nauseum on Twitter, so apologies to anybody that's been reading all that and go, golly, I wish you just shut up about this, you broken record. But if NASCAR's goal was to turn the 17 or whatever intermediate races with this package into something that looked like Daytona in like 2005, 2006, that somewhere around in there, they have succeeded. Whether or not that them succeeding in that goal leads to overall success of the sport remains to be seen. Yep. It was very much, and the guys were racy, but there was only 10 cars. I think we're going to see that be the front of the field, and then the back may be a lot more doubled up. Okay. As they cruise around, and the cars that aren't as strong aero or motor-wise or whatever will need a really close pack draft in order to stay with them. The leader couldn't get away, which is what we always used to see at Daytona when it was worn out. But we saw that the first, handful to 10 cars would typically be a little bit strung out in terms of not really wanting to be too wide like we see at Talladega. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, Interesting. I mean, so we've seen a few times. I mean, if you remember last year at Atlanta, I mean, we had stars in our eyes for the experience that we got to have. But in the end, I mean, that was Kevin Harvick just running away with it and leading the whole time. So, yeah.
I believe our guest is ready.
Yeah. So we'll quit BSing. And we'll bring him right on. I'm going to go ahead and give him the old phone call if I can remember which button.
So Freddie's going to be driving for the first 15 minutes, so we may hear some background noise, and he's going to be on a cell phone, so it won't be, it won't be the pristine quality you're sometimes accustomed to with the PETM podcast, but that's fine. It'll still be fully functional.
It's all good. So here we go. Let's give him the old phone call. Y'all going to hear it ring. We don't have that producer sitting in the background who can handle this whole thing. Oh, right. It's like the what do you call it? The UK style ring.
Hello.
Hey, Freddie, Rusty and Sherwin PETM podcast. What's up, man?
Hang on a second.
It wouldn't be the PETM podcast if there wasn't a little bit of a glitch.
Right. Oh man.
Hello.
Freddie, you with us?
Oh, all right, y'all. We're still working on it. It's okay.
Still working.
One of those
doing our thing.
One of those things. I heard 680 The Fan today dropped every single call they had.
Really?
Like with the regular callers, like they have a guy that's a lawyer that calls in and talks stuff. They have an agent that calls in and talks stuff, and they dropped every single one of them.
That's funny. That's funny.
This is not an amateur problem, y'all. There are professionals that do the afternoon drive radio in the biggest radio station in Atlanta that have this same problem.
Well, there you go. I believe this was a Freddie problem. It did drop the call, as a matter of fact. So here goes again. Y'all wait out. See if we can get that same European-style phone ring. That was interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that at the end of another brick in the wall? Hey, Freddie, what's up, man? Freddie, you got us? You know what?
I wonder if he can't hear us.
It could be. It could be. I suck at this, as it turns out.
We're working on it, Freddie.
Okay. Maybe that's the one. Maybe it works this time. He might be really upset at us now that it's the third time. Could be. We'll see one more time.
Hello.
Hey, Freddie, you got us this time.
All right.
Man.
All right, we had to push some buttons.
Yeah, I had to do a little button mashing there. A couple amateurs here in the studio trying to do their thing. How's it going, man?
I figured it was for sure on my end. I'm like, damn, what have I done here?
You know what? I might have blamed your end, too, thinking it was because the call dropped, but you very astutely hung up like, well, I can't hear them. So
well, he said he could barely hear us. So we didn't have the gain up high enough.
I had the wrong microphone selected by accident. So anyway, Freddie, we are live on the show. For the folks who don't know, we want to welcome him to the show. Hey, it's your master's degree at the prestigious PETMU, fresh off the heels of Sherwin meeting Bubba at the Quick Trip Coca-Cola appearance in Norcross, Georgia. And also, you know him as a door bumper clear super sub, spotter for 43, Richard Petty Motorsports Cup car on Twitter at Freddie Kraft. I'll say something right here in a second. What's up, Freddie?
What's going on?
Oh man, we're doing our thing. We're just sitting here BSing about the Atlanta Motor Speedway stuff coming up, Super Bowl, the test over at Vegas, everything else. So we're excited to have you on. Hey, you know how we always start this thing though. We got to ask you what you're drinking tonight.
So right now I'm actually driving home. So I'm not drinking anything. I'm going to obey all traffic laws. I actually just had a dinner with Brett, who we all know is a bit of a drinker, and this might be the first time we've hung out when I'm in any kind of condition to drive home. So when I get home, I'll pour me one to catch up with you guys. But right now, I'm gonna stick to obeying the traffic laws.
My man,
that's a good plan.
My man, what is that song? A cold beer sitting in the console.
Oh yeah, Jason Aldean.
not this time, Freddie. So when are you going to take TJ's place on Door Bumper Clear?
I don't know. I'm going to do a little more with them this year, I guess. I don't know. They're going to have a show coming up here. I'm going to do that one with them, and then I guess I'll go back into my super sub role for a while. But You know, TJ, he's always babysitting, so I'll get on there quite a bit.
He likes to call. So for our listeners that aren't regular listeners to Door Bumper Clear, TJ likes to call like being a dad babysitting.
Yep.
And Brett and everybody else in the studio loves to give him crap about, like, it's not babysitting when it's your kids.
Well, I mean, you know what? Those of us. Go ahead, Freddie.
If you're not getting paid, not babysit. That's the way it is.
Yes,
that's a good point. That's a good point. Because I was like, the folks, the folks who don't have kids like me are like, well, yeah. Well, I mean. What else is it? I don't. Oh, you're not supposed to call it that. You know what? I called. I called one of my coworkers' kids it a few weeks ago, and didn't even. I didn't miss a beat saying. I can't remember what it was. Like it didn't even register in my head that I had said it, and they said, "Did you just call my son it?" And I'm like, maybe. I don't know.
I used to ask friends with the little ones why can't you just crate it?
Why can't you just crate it? Beat it with a newspaper. Oh man. So it's going to be like that tonight, Freddie. So hurry home and catch up.
Yeah, I'm on my way.
So that said, we were talking about the Vegas test right before you had called in. So it's kind of a perfect segue. Would love to have your thoughts on that test and what it means and any surprises there.
We went out there. We kind of, believe it or not, we actually were a little surprised that the cars were, Bubba's first time it was, that was a little bit faster than I thought it was going to be. It was the last time he drove this package was at All-Star Race in Chicago, the All-Star Open. So it had a little less horsepower there. I think it only had like 4 something. And this motor's got about 550. So he said, 8 o'clock in the morning, sun, driving into turn 3. So it was a little more than I expected it was going to be. But, it was still wide open all the time. By ourselves, there was no tire fall off whatsoever. We went out for a 25-lap run and didn't see any tire fall off at all. Ran the same 31.05 to 31.10 every lap. The drafting packs were... they packed us up. I think we ran like 6 sessions. The first day, it was kind of guys playing around with it. They lined us up on pit road. The 2 fastest guys, Kyle and Matt, started last, kind of made some passes, made it interesting. And as spotters, me, Brad, a couple others got together, we said, man, the leaders would lead for a couple laps. All right, now I want to go back into the pack and see what I can do, see if I can work my way back up. So nobody really tried to hold the lead at all, just kind of run the lead for 3 or 4 laps and go back into the pack. And we said, man, it would be real interesting to see if a guy that's if somebody just wants to stay in the lead, if somebody can get to him and pass him. And on Friday, the second day, we had 2 guys just get to the lead and try to hold it, and there was no passing. You couldn't do nothing with them. So there was some cause for concern there, to where guys would try to work together, second, third place guy, to try to get to the leader, and they couldn't do it. Then you had a fast guy like Kyle. Austin Dillon was leading the last group, and Kyle kind of got the second. Once he got the second, kind of stalled out. So there was a little concern on our part, what is this? You're not going to be able to touch the leader point. So that's also a place where the tires weren't wearing out. So it'll be different variables, but that was the only little concern I took out of the package, out of them drafting groups.
Yeah, I think when we get to Atlanta, I think people are going to be overwhelmed by what happens when tires actually fall off. They're going to have an expectation going into Vegas that's going to be wildly outside of what they're going to see at Vegas. What I'm curious, Freddie, is do you think, and being a guy that's developing relationships on the roof, do you think you're going to see guys actually kind of drag the brake a little bit back to the guy behind them and try to do, push for a quarter of a lap until NASCAR gets mad and tells them to stop?
I think that ideally you want to do that, and there's obviously going to be some guys trying to do that, teammates put together and stuff. But we didn't see in the Vegas test. We didn't see, to be honest with you, like I was saying, guys like this. I think it was Austin leading, and Brad was leading. like the second to last group, Brad just started the pole and led the whole thing. And like Bush and Clint Boyer, a couple of skid races were playing, playing that came up to each other, trying to get hooked up and get a run on a leader. And so all that guys were trying to work together and make a move on a leader. And when the second guy made a move on leader, all it did was make a race for second and third. Affect his car was handling and everything. So there's definitely going to be some tweaking that they're going to need to do. But they got wanted to back up. They were together. It was hard. I mean, we had phone off the back, and we were going to make a pit stop and we're after groups and Bubba. Hey, let me catch back up, and they all ran single file. And we ran them right back down. So I mean, what their goal of packing us up and keeping it close to racing is accomplished now, but they've got a way they can be able to. Right now, like the closest thing, Bubba, and I think Kyle even said it in the interview, it's really, really similar to truck racing right now, where they're kind of hard to get away from each other, but it's also hard. Like the leader can run wide open all the way around the racetrack. Where are you going to develop your run on them? So that's the biggest thing now.
Yeah, I think one of the things I noticed, I only watched a significant portion of one test session, but I believe it's the one you just discussed where Brad decided he was just going to try to keep the lead. One of the things I noticed was while he was staying on the actual racetrack itself, especially on the front stretch through the tri-oval, he noticed that Austin Dillon had gotten a significant run on him by cutting the corner. And then he cut the corner for the next 10 laps. Forget about the tri-oval. He just cut off. As soon as the grass stopped, he cut the white line and just ran the whole apron all the way up to turn one. That tells me that the cars are a little bit too stable.
Oh, the cars, you can't, like, you can run, if you're the leader, you can run wide open all day long, like, under that package. Like I said, I don't think you can be able to do that in Atlanta. I should be there better. But, like, a place like Vegas, got new surfaces, Chicago, Kansas, the leader's going to be able to run wide open, I think, the whole time. So that's the troubling part of it. And then, so like you said, you can run. You don't have to run the racetrack. You don't have to. I mean, you can run the apron, and then you don't even need to blend up all the way to the wall to get in your corner, right? Because you're going so slow. You can just run half a lane up the racetrack and get in the corner the way you need to. So that's just part of it. Where, like we kind of discussed, they're going to have to be able to tweak on it a little bit and do some stuff to make it more racy. They've accomplished the main goal, I think, which is to keep them on top of each other the whole session. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. We got a great question from Mick Rose at GoDucks42_Mick, and he asks, will this new rules package, the 2019 rules package, require any adjustment for the spotters? And I think maybe I'll even rephrase, like, what are you thinking about up on the spotter stand, or what are you having to do differently with this new rules package, if anything?
So, and there's another thing to me, like a bunch of us are talking about, it's all a test. The drivers are testing the new package, and we're testing it ourselves to see, like, that's a great question because we had no expectations going into it. We didn't know, like, is it going to be the same as plate race? Is it going to be the same as, just a mile and a half that bit? So, but it was really, I was talking to Bubba about it, and I said it was really weird. There was one section where we got out front, we led pretty much the whole thing until about 3 to go. We got a tire and head went down. We had to kind of bail out of it. But it was really weird. Like on a plate race, you can see where the runs are coming from. You can see a couple guys get hooked up together or a lane starts moving. You can say, all right, this lane's moving. They're going to be you in 2 laps. Or they're going to be, you got to move up and block them now, whatever. But you can see the run developing where you got to tell them, all right, this is coming. Get ready for it. Let's go. This practice here, I'm like, man, you couldn't tell where the runs were coming from. Like, I could be back there, like, I think it was Ryan Priest behind us, and, he'd be behind us, 2 car lengths, and then all of a sudden, he's running up our bumper. And I'm like, where did that come from? Like, it was really hard on the spotter stand to judge where the runs were coming from and why they were happening the way they were happening, or, if somebody just had to maybe crack the throttle or put a little too much wheel in it and drag speed. But it was really difficult to tell, like, where the runs were developing from, and with that, how to block them in time and stuff. So that was interesting to see.
That is, that is interesting, Sherwin, how I guess it just changes when you've seen so much as a spotter and in your personal history and stuff. And then now this whole new thing happens, and it kind of changes your perspective on what you already knew from those past experiences. So now you have to recalibrate, I guess what I'm saying, is get a whole new perspective on, well, okay, well, this guy's, like Freddie said, oh, well, this guy's on your bumper now. I don't know why, but he's there. It's not a run. It's not anything else, but, you know,
a weird pocket
happened.
of air and it's sucked up or something.
Yeah. So, that's very interesting. Sherwin, you wrote this one down. New rule, among the new rules, the Clash has moved to Sunday afternoon, presumably to make the TV package for qualifying more valuable, and the same with the fans' tickets and stuff. What do you think, Sherwin?
I honestly think the reason why they did it is to exactly that, to hold people there longer in Daytona, where they would normally maybe they bug out and don't even watch qualifying. But maybe if you got qualifying and the Clash built into your ticket, maybe they stick around another day. You got any thoughts on that, Freddie?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, any reason they can hang out and spend money at the concession stands, probably a good reason for them. So I agree. You know, it's just kind of maximize the amount of time people are around the track and hanging around and taking in the activities there.
I think it's also a good way to Sundayize, I will create a word here, more NASCAR stuff. You know, there's when 10 years ago, or maybe 15 years ago, when's a NASCAR race? It's on Sunday, except for maybe these one or two, but it's on Sunday, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've gotten to the point where there's a lot more Saturday night racing and stuff. You got to be a little more in tune and stuff. I think moving into Sunday, hey, that's when NASCAR races. That's when we do this.
Well,
thing.
and football's over.
Yeah, and football's over. So you're not competing with nobody. It makes sense to have something for folks to do on Sunday. So yeah, I'm cool with that. Let's keep going with the new rules package and the rules that were just announced recently. Freddie, definitely. Whoa, there goes the microphone. Definitely want to get your perspective on the whole taking wins away from victory lane and
No more cucumbers.
no more cucumbered wins and whatnot. Where do you stand on this thing? Good idea, bad idea, indifferent.
I think it's a good idea. I think, you know, I understand the part of the people that want it, you know, they feel like, you know, you left the racetrack, you want to know who the winner is. But I think that the diehard fan would much rather know that the guy that won the race did it legit versus, you know, he just cheated his way to get in, and then you don't understand what the hell is going on. He got a win, but he didn't really get a win. What counted, what didn't count. He's getting a fine for this. So now it sounds like it's going to be pretty cut and dry if you got a, you know, which it's not really cut and dry, I think, because they still kind of left a little bit of interpretation up by saying it's got to be a major violation. So I don't know. I haven't read up enough to see what the difference between a major and a minor violation is. But, you know, it sounds like they're going to start taking wins away. So, you know, I think it's a good thing from the sports side to try and curtail some of the stuff that goes on, especially with a new package. You know, guys are going to be trying to cut corners and gaining a little bit they can. So I'm all for it, I think.
Okay. Well, I stirred up a whole bunch of crap on the Twitter yesterday. not being mean. I wasn't being an arsehole. But I just provided a counter opinion that I think while on the front end, this concept may prevent teams from making decisions that would otherwise be detrimental to NASCAR, if you will. My fear is that what happens when we actually do have this thing happen? Like, how do people actually react? And what if games are really stupid anyway, but what if Chase Elliott wins Atlanta and has the wins stripped? What does that actually do to help NASCAR?
So my opinion on this is it's going to take us two of these things that happen, and then it's going to be the commonplace. The first time there's a win taken away, it's going to be shocked. Second
I think
time,
people's heads are going to be on fire the first go-around.
Yeah, and second time, I think it's still going to be a tough wound. I mean, it's always going to be tough for anybody. But after that, hey, this is the rules. This is how this thing works now. And this has been in other series forever. You know, we've talked about local dirt tracks, other Outlaws. I believe Outlaws do it. There's all kinds of other racing series.
Well, Outlaws don't have a lot of rules to begin with.
Well, fair.
And neither do the midgets.
Fair. But
I think you're right. I think in the spirit of the rule, what they're trying to do is they want to stop people from monkeying around well beyond what the rule book says. My concern is that the only way we're going to be able to get them to realize it is it's going to have to happen, and when it does, I don't think it's going to be very pretty.
I agree with.
I think it'll.
Yeah, go ahead, Fred.
I think it'll be a matter of who it happens to.
That's
You
fair.
know, like if Kyle Busch is the first one to get disqualified, the fans will love it. If it's Chase Elliott, it'll be an issue.
Yeah,
That's a great point.
yeah.
Like it'll be case by cases. I think if he's the first one to go down, everybody's gonna hate it. But he should have got the win. But if it's Kyle or even Kurt Busch or somebody like that, that's not maybe popular. As a fan, oh, that's great. He deserves what he got.
Well, they interestingly they waited until Dale Jr. retired to implement the rules. So.
He was sitting somewhere going,
Conspiracy
"Thank
theory.
God, I don't have to deal with this nonsense."
No, so Sherwin, I agree with everything you said. It's going to be an ish show when it happens. It's going to be controversy and whatnot, but I still think it's the right move. And I remember hearing so many times, hey, we want people to know that when they leave the stands on Sunday, they know who won the race. And I'm not sure that today's fan necessarily agrees with that sentiment anymore.
Well, in traffic, they'll get to see on their phone.
No kidding. Yeah, exactly.
So worst case scenario, you're happy for 90 minutes and then you're balling, or you're just kind of lamenting a second place finish.
Right.
My biggest concern with this, Freddie, and maybe I'm just diving way deep in the rabbit hole on this, and I'm fine with that being the perspective if that's what it is. My issue is if they're going to take first, second, and third, what in the world are they going to do if all three of those cars fail?
Well, that's
Yeah.
have we had
So my analogy for this was I listened to Lance Armstrong's podcast, and he now openly talks about what they were doing and how it was not okay. The last time he won the Tour de France, the first 18 guys tested hot. So you're going to give the win to the 19th guy?
Now, what's the rule, Sherwin? Are they going to give the win to the second guy, or
Yes,
are they just
they're going to
wow.
give the win to the next passing car. But they're only going to take three in the hopes that
there's not
those two
fourth?
guys didn't cheat.
Well, we've had these hypotheticals for a while in NASCAR too, though. Like, what if more than 16 people win a race during the season? And
that's going to be a topic next week, by the way.
and we haven't seen it yet, so it hadn't it hadn't really come to fruition. So maybe
we saw it, but one had the encumbered win, so we technically only had the 16.
But no, so I think they're rolling the dice here for that same thing. It's one of those. It'll bite them eventually, but it's one of those. Surely the top.
Well, that's what I was talking about on Twitter. Is I hope the risk is worth reward, because there is risk associated with this plan. Mm-hmm. And if ultimately the value of the risk is way higher than the potential downfall, then let's do it.
Yeah. It's interesting too. I feel like this helps competition a little bit in that, hey, second place is still like a roll of the dice. That hey, there might be that 1 in maybe 30 chance that you're actually going to win. So second place isn't like a points position anymore. This might be a win.
That was what was said today on Race Hub. I got to watch about 40 minutes of it, and that was a big part of their conversation was second place now matters more than it ever has before.
Mm-hmm. So, and here we are talking to Freddie, who was second place at the Daytona 500 last year. Freddie.
Yeah. Should have wrecked that guy.
That's fantastic.
I got to meet your boy a couple weeks ago at Quick Trip. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that way.
You know what? We've got a question from Kathleen at KHI Fan saying, do you think that the disqualified team will have to pay for or replenish all the beer and champagne that was consumed in Victory Lane? Your thoughts, Freddie?
Yeah, I mean that should be 100% fact. Like you should have to give it all back, or bring it to the guy's house when you get home. You know, like you got to bring another party over to the winner's house when we land. We all land about the same time anyway.
Yeah.
So like if you get disqualified, you've got to throw the party at that guy's house.
I like
That
it.
sounds fair.
I like it. You
Hey,
have to-
Freddie, I don't know if you know this or not. You know, Brad does all that stuff where he, walks around. We were talking about Talladega. He walks around the infield handing out Miller Lights when he sees his flag and all that stuff. But he also had a tradition where he would go leave a case of Miller Lite on the winner's bus's doorstep. Does he still do that? Do you know?
I don't know. I haven't heard about it in the last couple of years or so, but hopefully we'll win a race and find out. I'll be able to report back to you.
All right.
I was going to say, hopefully.
Well, between you and Bubba, I hope y'all need more than a case.
Well, yeah. I definitely need a case myself. I don't know about him.
That's awesome. Freddie, what are you doing right now, if anything, ahead of Daytona, preparing for the race? Is there anything special or different, or what's the feeling right now? All the prep stuff going into the season. What are you doing right now?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I really honestly don't do a whole. Like I'll go back and I'll watch the dual races. We had a good run there. I'll go back and watch the 500 and see where we got shuffled out of the draft, why that happened. Go back and go back to lap before and see if there's something I could have differently to put us in a different spot so that didn't happen. Just kind of stuff like that. Just kind of watching how guys got made passes, or if guys made runs through the field. Kind of what lanes they were used or how they hit. So kind of just, I got on the phone, or, me and Bubba were traveling last week to go to the test together. So we talked about the stuff I saw. So just kind of just like watching the videos, breaking down races, talking to Bubba about it, talking to some other guys. But really, honestly, I'm not really doing a whole lot. I'm my ass watching TV.
Gotcha. So same old, right before race starts, and
Yeah.
but interesting reviewing. What are you looking at when you're reviewing that footage? I guess with I can think about it like football teams and stuff. Oh, we did this and they did that, so they've got this little thing. What is a NASCAR spotter or NASCAR team looking at when they're looking at previous races like that?
Like I said, basically just the plate races. I'll watch them and go back and just see, okay, I know at this point we're running third, so I'll kind of skip ahead, and I know we're still third. We're in this spot on the line on the bottom, and all right, now we got shuffled out. So how did that happen? Like, did we make a wrong move? Did somebody hang us out to dry? Could we have protected better? Could we have done something differently to prevent it? Or, a guy that somebody that was fast restarts in the back and got to the front. Okay, how did he do it? What lane did he use? Did he have help? Was he able to just kind of go back and work the lanes? So just stuff like that about, it's as easy as it looks sometimes, it's really kind of tough to make it happen. You got to have guys working with you. You got to be in the right spot. You got to, like, one thing that I noticed every time we got hung out of line last year was we got tight. Our car got tight, got drifted high, and somebody would fill the middle lane and make it 3 wide.
Mm-hmm.
And that happened 2 or 3. So that was something I talked to Bubba about, and it's not he can control sometimes because cars are tight. And if it's tight, it is what it is. You can go back and ride around all day. But, it's just like little stuff like that, like just being better, more aware of, all right, you need to protect the middle a little bit better if possible. Or, just stuff like that. We'll just look like the small little details can prevent you from losing 15 spots.
Well, so on that note, you just triggered a thought in my mind. On that note, how many times do we see some of these wrecks happen because they end up in a situation like you just described with Bubba, where they're tight, they're running the top, and they're trying to protect the middle, and then a wreck happens because they're overdriving the car and it steps out on them? Maybe that's
You see, a plate race is like 3 different kind of wrecks. There's a guy's going to get tight, turn to Daytona, in the middle lane, turn in. A guy's going to try to block somebody's going to run back at him, turn him across the track, big wreck. or, like somebody's going to try and weasel their way up the middle lane and somebody doesn't realize it or, try to come back and block the middle lane, and that's a big wreck. So, it's just little stuff like that where, I feel like the guys that are good at plate racing are the difference is they just say, all right, you know what, the guy there, or he's throwing a big block, I'm just going to have to suck it up for this moment and let go. But the guys that are the guys that crash a lot are the ones that are real aggressive, trying to make the middle work, or don't know enough to like just roll out of the throttle and go to the back. So like that's one thing that Bubba I think has learned over the couple of years, that like we don't need to be fifth at lap 20 or 30 or 50. We can go back to 20th and we'll get back up there eventually. So it's just it's a little stuff like that, just learning you don't need to be in the front all day long.
So I'm going to be a little bit mean here because he's generally considered to be a very good plate racer. He's also generally considered to be really aggressive. How many of those wrecks that you just described as Jamie McMurray caused?
A lot of them. And that's one of the first guys that last year we were going to the Daytona 500, and I told Bubba, I said, that's the guy you got to watch out for the most because, he is by far the most aggressive plate race driver that I can remember in the 6 or 7 years I've been going to cup racing. And it's just aggression works, but you're like you said, you cause a lot of accidents and end up with a lot of accidents. Sometimes it works out for him and he finishes in the top 4 wins. But like he's known to be the aggressive one, so then people know to look out for it, and that's how the wrecks kind of get caused. But it's usually him trying to worm his way up the middle, and it causes a huge wreck.
So, let me ask you this. It'll be a spotter-specific type question for you. When that happens, and it's a known thing that it's happened enough times that we're even talking about it, or we can remember it as fans. We can remember it. Do y'all all look at his spotter and go, "What the f"?
Yeah, pretty much. Like his spotter's a good buddy of ours, and we torture him a lot because of that. It's just whatever you need, bud. Just head up, weasel your way up in there, and just screw the rest of us. Whatever you need, it's all good. So yeah, we'll torture him about that.
How many beers has he had to buy?
We got to get him to drink. He's not much of a drinker. If he was, we could at least hang out with him and torture him there. But he's had to buy a couple dinners, I'm sure, in his day.
So I don't know how to ask this because I don't want to put you on any watch list
God.
from NASCAR. No, it's with Kyle Busch recently ripping NASCAR for removing the whole driver skill thing. I'm not asking you to agree or disagree, but wonder if you have any comments on that, or if you do want to agree or disagree. I'm all for it.
I agree with him.
Okay.
I think that you've got some really, really talented race car drivers in our series, and what we kind of saw on Thursday and Friday last week kind of relegates their talent. They don't. It doesn't matter anymore. Like if you can run around there wide open, you don't need to have much talent to do that. If you let me work at it for an hour, I could probably do it. You know what I mean? So you guys could probably do it.
Yeah.
So what made Kyle Larson and Kyle Busch and Jimmy Johnson really special was their ability to manage the throttle and work the brake pedal. And Kevin Harvick is the master of Atlanta. I'm sure you guys have been there, and it's just because of the way he can run 1 and 2. Where it seems like he lifts the start-finish line and he can cover the bottom line and wear us out. And now that is completely out the window. Like that does not matter anymore. He would wear us out Atlanta for years now, and it's gone. It's over with. So, hopefully at some of the tracks like Atlanta and Darlington, we can see a little bit of the racing that we saw with the tires wearing out. But in what we saw in Vegas, I don't foresee a lot of, the world-class wheelmen that we have playing much of a part in it, aside from maybe, a little bit of strategy in their heads of how they're going to block and make passes. But it's not going to be the Kyle Larson hanging it up on the wall for, 30 laps running an inch off the wall anymore, I don't think.
That's a really good point. I like what you brought up about Harvick because he's the only one ever that figured out how to run 1 and 2 on the apron and kick everybody's ass off of turn 2. Nobody can do that. Everybody else that wins at Atlanta runs high in turn 2 and low in turn 4. And I hate the idea that you just mentioned that Kyle Larson
I was about to bring
running
this
the
up.
cushion might not be a thing anymore.
It takes a personality out of some of those folks. If this is what comes to fruition, it takes. We know what Kyle's trying to do at somewhere like Homestead. We know he's trying to hit the wall, but not hit the wall.
Right.
Like we know that's what his strategy is. We know what some of these lines that folks are running are, and if you take that away, not only are you taking away driver skill that Kyle Busch was saying, but you're taking away, like I said, the personality,
of
these
the
drivers
race.
away.
Yeah.
Which, that's a bummer.
I'd love to hear what Tony Stewart says about this.
Well, he's not affiliated anymore in a sense that I'm sure he will cuss out anything that needs cussing out. So I don't know. It's weird how it ebbs and flows, Sherwin, how we heard the same thing from Brad Keselowski. Remember when we heard it from him a few years ago, and we heard the same thing from, you just said it, Tony Stewart about Talladega. He goes, well, that was a boring race, wasn't it? I remember him getting out of the car. Well, that was a boring race. I just put the pedal to the floor for 184 laps and then wrecked for 3 laps. Like, that was stupid. So, and Brad Keselowski was famously, so I say famously, but I remember him saying, however long it was, like 3 or 4 years ago, just saying that taking away this downforce is gonna put the talent back in the drivers. So
that was
weird
2014 when we
Okay.
had that package where everybody was running really fast through the corners.
Yeah.
And they started backing off away from that.
Back and
so
forth, back and forth.
here's a counter to what Kyle said today, or not today, but what he has said that we just discussed. On Race Hub today, they had Austin Dillon. And we know what kind of racer Austin Dillon is. He's only showing up with schematics or gas schemes or at a plate race. He's a good plate racer. So he had the exact same, and he's got to give his own personality and get his stuff out there and get attention for him. And he knows how to brand. He's actually really good at the branding side of it. He's like, I don't agree with Kyle Busch at all. And it's like, dude, you're the only racer that has said that thus far.
Well,
you have the 2 wins, and they're both suspect.
he also has that 3 painted on the side, which gives you like 10 horsepower, right? Isn't that-
Well, it's supposed to, but it doesn't seem.
He was also really, really fast at the Vegas test.
Well, there you go.
Good.
There's the 3.
So he's probably pretty excited about the package.
Yeah.
God bless him for selling himself. That's what you're supposed to do.
Sure.
Sell your brand, but I tend to agree more with Kyle Busch on. I think they've done something that makes it to where whatever is special about Kyle and Kevin and Martin Truex and Kyle Larson and maybe even now Chase, whatever makes them special with a race car, that's going to be diminished to some respect.
Yeah. Sarah just asked on the YouTube, can Kyle Busch win the championship in 2019? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's one of the best drivers on the face of the earth in a car.
I think that with the way this package is going, I would call Kyle Busch the favorite to win everything this year.
There you go.
Because it's more similar to a truck race than anything that I've done in the recent past, and I don't think there's anybody better in truck racing than Kyle Busch has been. So
he's not bad.
he was the only one that was able to make a lot of passes and cut through the field pretty impressively at that test the other day.
And let's not forget, Kyle's the only driver that's won at every single racetrack, which means when we don't have this package going on at Richmond or Martinsville or Bristol,
he's been
Kyle's
there, done that.
Going to be a favorite to win.
Yeah,
I think Brad and even maybe Joey are going to be maybe moved towards the favorite list for a lot of these package races where it's like what Freddie said, if we have a new racetrack, a new surface, Texas, Charlotte, Vegas, because of his ability to stay out front in restrictor plate races from the past, they're going to be favorites to win those races for sure.
Yeah. So here's another rule change that I'd like to just throw at you, Freddie, and see if this affects anything. The qualifying round 1 is now down to 10 minutes instead of 15. The break is 5 minutes instead of 7, and otherwise we have the same 10-minute and 5-minute for round 2 and 3. I'm wondering, from your perspective, does that really mean anything? Is this a welcome change? Is this a ho-hum, okay, whatever, or hey, I get to get out of there a little quicker, or is there actually a strategy thing here that you're thinking about with this one?
Without trying to get myself in a ton of trouble, qualifying is going to be interesting because I think it's going to turn into draft packs, small packs, guys trying to get runs on each other. They seem to think that drafting won't play a part in it, but we picked up a ton of speed in the pack versus playing by ourselves. So I don't know how they can figure it's not going to play a part. So, I think it's going to go back to, if you remember, whatever it was, 3 or 4 years ago when trucks did group qualifying and everybody sat on pit road. Nobody wanted to be the first guy out. And you all just sat there and waited for a minute to go, and then we all took off, and whoever made it back to the line got a lap in, and if you missed it, you missed it, and it is what it is. So I think that's what you're going to see. Unfortunately, I don't know. I was kind of hoping to avoid that. I thought they may just go back to single car qualifying, but I seen where one of our executives in the sports center in the show business now. So I guess they want to put on a show for qualifying. So they'll make our jobs easier at all. But well, I guess we'll see what we can do. We'll put a show on for them.
Well, my fear is, so we did group qualifying, I think, 3 times at plate tracks before they go, yeah, this is a really bad idea. Because, like, Kyle Busch and, like, 4 other cars went flying by a car that was doing 60 mile an hour less than they were. Yeah. And they're like, this is just not a good idea. So let's stop doing this at this kind of racetrack. Well, next year, we're going to have 7 opportunities to have the big one in qualifying. And you talked about, like, if we're trying to save the whole business, if the whole collective NASCAR business, if we're trying to save them money, reckon 15 cars in qualifying, that ain't saving money.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, you won't see the same packs like you saw at them Daytona and Talladega deals. I think it'll just be, it's not, you won't have time really to get wound up. Like that deal was like, all right, you go out, you ride around, you find a pack, you try to get wound up as full to it. This deal is just going to be, everybody's got one shot. And, the problem is going to be when there was one race, I think, where we all sat on pit road, and I think Ryan Blaney was the only one in the truck race. He's the only one that made it back to the line and got a lap spin. So he could have turned around and did his lap reverse, and we would have been on the pole, and the other 12 guys, the 11 guys would have lined up from the previous round. So it's like, I think I'm hoping that they're going to realize it's probably not a great idea and eventually go to single car to like you said, like we don't need to be crashing cars and qualifying. I don't care what kind of show you want to put on. It doesn't need to be that exciting, I promise you.
Well, I wonder if it might not be a better idea to evolve it to the exact way those Vegas tests went. So you draw a pill and you line up and you do a pace lap, and then it's like a race, like a heat race. Because, like you said, nobody wants to be the leader because they're the one cutting all the air. Because somebody about 4th or 5th is probably going to be the one that's going to figure out how to drag his brake and suck up at the line and get the best time.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting because, again, like, on Friday or Thursday, whatever day it was, we were the fastest car, and it was just from actually leading our draft pack. So that's another thing. Like, nobody still has no idea how this all works. Like, with our restrictor plate package, you want to be the last guy in line. You want to be pulling up to the pack. That's always been the fastest, always will be on that restrictor plate deal. With this tapered spacer, low horsepower deal, we were the fastest leading the pack. So I don't know, but either way, it's going to be a fight. Either everybody's going to want to be first, or everybody's going to want to be last, and it's not going to work. So it's just going to turn into a mess, and it just seems unnecessary to do that qualifying. But like I said, we're in the show business now, so we're going to put on a show.
Right. Well, I think, and maybe you were alluding to this without having said it, but I think at this a little bit smaller tracks, especially when we get tire wear, I think being the leader would be an advantage in this qualifying format because you still got super stickies and you can hold it wide open, and that might be better than the guys behind you just because their air is disrupted and yours is not.
Yeah. So, Freddie, we're gonna close you out with this question. And I'll give some background here. every week, as we're doing the show notes and as I'm putting together the report card. I guess we didn't announce that we're doing a report card this time, first period, second period, third period, all that mess.
Yeah, whatever.
But I did follow along in the notes with those. But one of the things I do is I just search for news about NASCAR. Just, is there anything that I missed this week, following on Twitter, following on whatever else? Is there anything that I missed and might have fell through the cracks? And the truth is, if you type in NASCAR into Google and go to news, you'll find some stuff that, I didn't think about that, or that didn't really come up, and that's an interesting topic. So this week I searched, and I forgot to hit the news button, and so I just scrolled down in NASCAR. And, Google has those results, and it says, people also searched for this and this and this related to NASCAR. And one of them was, what are the best drivers in NASCAR? What are the blah, blah. The one that got my attention was the very first question. And I'll leave it to you, Freddie. The question was, how much horsepower is in a NASCAR?
Well, I mean, it's an easy question to answer this year. It's 550.
550.
550 horsepower everywhere. Exactly.
Well, I think part of the joke...
I've never heard it to that way.
Right.
Placed that way.
Right. How many...
Well, part of the joke is a NASCAR is not a thing. It's a sanctioning body.
It's a sanctioning body. How many threads are in an NFL?
Right.
How much does a Major League Baseball or an MLB weigh? Or I guess that one almost makes sense, but that whatever.
I'm so used to everywhere we go, we'll run into people. Believe it or not, we end up in a bar once in a while, and like anywhere you run, so you run one of them NASCARs, or you help out one of them NASCARs. I'm like, it's not. The car is not a NAS. It's not a NASCAR. Like it's a. You try to, the first couple times it's happened, you try to explain it, and then you just give up. You're on your fifth year, it doesn't even matter anymore. Like, just, we drive, we have NASCARs out. Yeah, we do it.
Me and Sherwin were at the Charlotte race, the first time we went to Charlotte, and we were camping out, and right behind our campsite was a gas station. And they had some promotion going on that says, you can drive a NASCAR. And I was like, wow, I could drive the whole series? That's amazing.
So I can be the president? Or?
That's right. If you want to slap shot an NHL, if you want to throw an NFL, or if you want to hit an MLB, just, come to us. And you can drive a NASCAR too. Why not?
Shoot an NBA.
Shoot an NBA. Yeah, perfect. Love it. So with that, Freddie, we're going to let you go. We thank you so much for being on. Tell the folks where they can find you, what's coming up next, and what else is going on.
Yeah, just pretty much Freddie Kraft on all social media, Facebook, Twitter, at Freddie Kraft. You can find me on, I guess, DVC. I'll be on there a couple times again this year. Go Bump and Clear, Dirty Mo Radio. I'm sure I'll be back on with you guys at some point. One of these days we're going to line up where I'm actually drunk doing this show and I'm not driving, or I forget the last time I wasn't drinking either. So I gotta plan this out a little better to where I can actually sit down and have a couple drinks and get out here with you guys. But I'll be hanging around with Bubba. If you come to a racetrack, hit us up, Twitter or something. We might be out, me and Brett Griffin. We usually find our way to some kind of establishment. So maybe if you guys find us on the road somewhere, we can get you a beer. But we like to enjoy ourselves and not take this life too serious.
Well, we will be at Atlanta doing pretend media. Thanks to Atlanta Motor Speedway. They're so cool. So let's. I'll text you. We'll try to meet up at Atlanta.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Thank you so much for being on. We really appreciate it. And I think the master's degree has been granted. Next time you're on, it's for PhD. That's the most prestigious award at PETM Podcasts and PETM University. So, you can hang that up. You can put it right next to any win trophies that you have, or replace those, tear them down, melt them. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't need them anymore.
All right, Freddie. Thank you so much.
Thanks a bunch, Fred.
We'll talk to you next time.
All right, guys. Thanks.
See ya. Sherwin, what a blast.
Always.
What a blast.
Man, that guy, he just likes to share, man.
Yeah, he does. Everybody does. I don't know. We should probably talk about that offline. But everybody that we talk to just wants to come on and just have a chat with somebody, and not get interviewed. Everybody gets interviewed so much, So
I think there's so much less pressure. I think
out.
the reason why we enjoy this so much is it's the anti-pressure.
Yeah.
It's not a a lot of times, and a lot of people will hear this and won't know this, but a lot of times beforehand we'll kind of say, look, this isn't like, we're not here to interview you. We want you to be the third co-host.
Yeah,
we're going to answer some questions. We're going to throw some questions to you. We're going to comment on it. This is not a, you're not sitting on the couch.
Yeah. There's not a spotlight and all blah, blah, blah. And Roger said it. Not a media podcast. It's a fan podcast. Absolutely. So with that, Sherwin, next week. Oh, yeah. Before we get next week, let's say this. Happy damn birthday to
Henry
to Mr.
Hank
Aaron. It's his 85th birthday today, February 5th, 2019 is Hank Aaron's 85th birthday. That's super cool. Yeah, from Mobile, Alabama. Who else is from Mobile, Alabama?
Daryl Wallace Jr.
As it turns out, our spotters driver this week. So we got the whole Mobile thing going on. We got the whole Atlanta thing going on. How cool is that? But, hey, segue. There's a reason that I bring up Hank Aaron. Sharon, what's coming up next week?
Well, so next week we're going to have our friend Ricky Mast back on the show. That's Rick Mast's son, who works for MLB.com covering the Braves.
Yep.
Just did his own podcast with Greg McMichael with Hank Aaron yesterday on Jackie Robinson's 100th birthday.
Holy mackerel.
So how about that for some trivia? And also, Hank Aaron is the last living player who played in the Negro Leagues.
Really?
Yep.
I did not know that. All right. I didn't know he played in the Negro Leagues.
When he was 18, because he made MLB when he was 19.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. How cool. Did he y'all got to go listen to that then, because he's probably got stories and everything else.
It was really good. I got goosebumps like a mother.
That's
chicken
awesome.
skin, as they say.
That's awesome. So, next week, Ricky Mast. And it's not just going to be Braves, y'all. We're going to be talking all kinds of stuff about the Mast family heading down to Speed Weeks and stuff. There's going to be some fun stories there.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, we'll have to bring Rick Mast on in a few weeks from now and have him either corroborate or deny. Any stories that Ricky tells. So, with that, y'all, we're going to start closing this thing down. We appreciate everyone being on here and having fun. I hope y'all have had fun. Freddie is always a blast, and hopefully we can meet up with him and stuff, Sherwin.
Absolutely. And if you'll give me just 1 second,
I'll give you one.
I want to do one quick little announcement that
Please
I need to get in to make sure I get the name right.
So,
I had put out on the Facebook, the Twitter about a week and a half ago that if we sustained 4,000 followers through the previous weekend, not this one, the previous, that we would release the 4,000 follower giveaway.
Sweet.
So I have found someone to do that to using TwitRand, which is a random selection of followers.
No kidding.
And her name is Kimberly Gazaway.
Kimberly Gazaway.
Beechin, Georgia Blonde.
Beechin, Georgia Blonde. There's a lot of things that I can relate with there. Beechin, I like the beach.
So the
Georgia,
Casey Kane autographed Red Bull hat from the special appearance that we went to at Bristol.
Oh, yeah. That's where we got to shake hands with.
We'll be headed up to Kimberly just as soon as I can get it in the mail.
Awesome. All right, dude. Congratulations, Kimberly. And with that, let's close this thing down, and we'll be talking about what's coming on next week. Thank y'all so much for joining. We have had an absolute blast with Freddie, and we'll hope to see y'all next week with Ricky Mast.
Hell yeah.
That's right. Y'all know where to find us. On the Twitter at PTM Podcast, PTMPodcast.com. As always, I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace at Tailgate Mayor.
And I am Pregame Engineer at Pregame Engineer on Twitter and at Andrew L. Sherwin on the Instagrams.
Look out. So, I'm excited. It's going to be fun. So, and Atlanta Motor Speedway coming up, Brandon Crowd, everything else. I don't know what to say other than Sydney Lett, just sing us out.
She's hollering.
Woo!
It's bad in the groove.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap.
That is a wrap
That's a wrap.
for the audio.
Yeah.
Still with you a little bit on the YouTube, if y'all are still there. Looks like most of y'all still are.
Hang out with us for a second or a minute or
How about Freddie, man? That dude is cool as hell.
Oh, man. And cool as the other side of the pillow.
He does Door Bumper Clears podcast, and he also does PETM podcast. Right? So
One of those, a few more,
yeah, one of these things is not like the others.
I love it. Yeah.
Although I will say this, despite the fact that we don't have the same insider knowledge as they do, I think we do have as much fun as they do.
I hope so. I'm having as much fun. I hope the PETM posse is having as much fun. Yeah. The rule change stuff, man. So that was interesting to me to hear from him. What he felt about qualifying rule change stuff, where he's just like, qualifying's just going to be a mess. I was like, I didn't think that would be.
It certainly seems like it would be.
Well, to a degree, I didn't know if it was just going to be like, okay, they're bunching them up a little more. We'll be fine. Same-ish, different day. Or he actually said, I won't put words in his mouth. You can go back and listen. But it sounded like it was a little more impacting than I thought it would be. And then talking about Kyle Busch's comments, you saw how much I sort of didn't egg him on. The very opposite. Like, hey, I'm going to give you a lot of outs here. If you want to say no comment, you get to say no comment on Kyle Busch saying that, hey, this turned into a talentless sport, essentially, at that point. But he's like, oh, yeah, totally agree. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing Freddie doesn't do is he doesn't pull punches. And that's why he's an entertaining person to talk to because he knows things. And, we'd never want to paint somebody like that in the corner and put him in a place where he's going to say something to get himself in trouble, which is why you, as you stated, gave him some outs if he wanted them. But, I think the racers know. I think I don't fault Austin Dillon for, taking his side when he was on a television show where he had a chance to sell his brand and say, look, I'm good at this. I don't agree with Kyle Busch because of X, Y, Z. And that's fine. That's actually what we want in NASCAR, y'all, right? It's not controversy. It's just contrarian opinion, which is why I spent so much time yesterday saying, you know what, I don't really like what's happening because I'm afraid of these other things. And everybody is obviously in favor of it for the most part, especially the people that have raced. Yonkers kind of gave me a hard time, which is fine. I appreciate that. It's all good. I went into it with the idea that, this is just going to be a fun conversation. I'm not going to posit in a way that I think is not what's the way I wasn't going to blow it up beyond what my actual own perspective is, which is I think when this happens it's going to be a problem. And we'll just have to see because ultimately it's going to happen, y'all. Somebody's going to push the limits. Look at that. Freddie's in texted me.
What a guy.
Thanks again. I'll give it some social media love. Sorry I didn't do more earlier. I had a crazy day.
Come on.
Dude, no apologies.
It's funny when and this is how down to earth everybody is. Who was it that I recently apologized to and they were like, dude, you don't have to apologize. You're doing us a favor. I'm like, I was doing you a favor. Sure, I will grant you that I was doing you a favor. However, I said that I would do A, and I kind of had to do like A. I'm not going to say I did B. I did like A.5.
Right.
And I'm like, man, I'm so sorry. Let's make it up to you. Let's do this other thing. And they're like, dude, that was more than we even expected. For you to even be able to do that thing. I don't even remember what it was recently. It doesn't matter. Because I'm not important at all enough to have that happen to me very often. But anyway, Sherwin, I have to
do all the things,
take a tiss, and I also need to do some IT stuff. So we need to say
we just say goodbye to the YouTube audience here,
to the PETM posse. Thank y'all so much for joining. Roger, JoJo, Sarah, Mick, and who else is on here? I'm seeing
Brett was on there for a minute.
Brett was
Mick
on
was
there
on for a minute.
Stacy was on. Great to see everybody. Thank y'all so much for joining, and we will catch y'all next time.
On the flip.